going to read is called From the Surface. The moon can't keep hold of its skin, swept away rough particles into space, charcoal dust blown from the palm. I always look for a face, moon craters, the heavy shadow beneath eyes. To draw lips, never use lines. Talk to me on the floor, one hand on my knee, one finger tracing the solid line of my jaw. I read something today, I will begin, and you will listen while looking, always while looking. When there isn't any sign of you, I plunge into burning, the sun, a signal flare beside the road. Late night, tire wrench, metal under stars, slow pull of your hands, nowhere to go. Can you hear me back there? Better. This next poem is called Reinventing the Wheel. This is definitely about the dichotomy of my daily life. So, reinventing the wheel. Not possible. But then again, we have enough time on our hands to figure out how to get there faster. Wasn't that always the plan? Or was it simply weight that needed better transport? The idea of bringing more with us? Who knows? But there was likely someone even then, 3,500 years BC, in Mesopotamia, whispering in another someone's ear, "You can do anything." There's always someone every day saying, in some way, you can do anything. They've forgotten the microphysics, the balance of scales, odds and luck, and the what-have-yous. They've forgotten simply the idea of other people thinking, I can do anything. Not possible. Not the wheel again, already invented, moving us faster, getting us car sick. While outside the window a man walks away, his retirement so slowly, you wonder how he finds the time. Not finds it as in on hand, but finds it as in how do you find your tea? Warm, too hot? I imagine it was the same in Mesopotamia, someone carving away at that great circle, slowly, without even a vision maybe, and certainly no one standing over their shoulder. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It's sort of been a recent theme to write about current events, which end up always being very dark poems, unfortunately. And I'll get there in a little bit as well. But this one is called Kiev. It took a lot, one long look rounding the corner. There are those who echo words with gunfire, priests gripping riot shields along with the cross. No one tries to find the who, the where, when first gunfire is anointed. There are beautiful photographs of it all, graceful adrenaline, Molotov cocktails, candles before flashpoint. The violent comes across like an aria, the felt heart stitched and stitched. I wake to the weight of all my muscles, uniquely tired. I place my feet on the cold floor. Right now, there is someone lacing up blood-stained boots. With every reason, the ground we stand on gives way. So, this poem is based on that same idea of current events. And my fiance, who's sitting down there, has to read all my poems. First reader always. In various forms, but she's been faced with an onslaught of all these really dark current event poems. So I think she hit her breaking point at one point not too long ago. So we had a little argument, and I decided to turn around and write this poem. So this is called You Don't Like My Poem, a love poem. It is difficult to explain why some ideas are cousins, others vague acquaintances with a history. Either way, you are more interested in those that appear as strangers, lurkers, lines that have been on the periphery for me, at the window for you. I understand why you didn't like my last poem. We both know the origin. This love for one of us is surprise, for the other, the makings of a grand recipe, the ingredients, once spilled, lost, burned to the ground, and yet the vague knowledge that one day would remove us from the list of those who know no one, have no one. They say love, 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 love. They say it in one word, and I'm supposed to use many. And I can, you know I can, but at night I step on your high heels with my bare feet, and sometimes I come home to the procession of a shower, trail of clothing, sheets overturned, suggestion, suggestion, and somehow none of this makes its way into better lines. Life had come to me as an idea, always, but I was never happier than when I would build. When out of ideas came teepees and tree houses and hay bale towers, and years later, the way you lean your cheek into my hand, softest gravity, is the way I lean words. Even the ones you might not recognize are yours. And what I was meant to build, not poems, maybe poems, but always, always this. So I'm going to read a couple older poems that I decided to give some new life to. This one is Murmuration. And that is the official term, I guess, for when all those starlings get together in these huge flocks and it becomes this sort of being of its own. When I looked at it, there's a couple of famous recordings. It sort of made me feel the same way as when you wake up at night and your eyes haven't quite adjusted to the surroundings. You're not sure where you are. It takes a minute for your eyes to just gather in your own room. And for some reason, those two feelings were linked for me. So, murmuration. We have grown accustomed to noise, voices and chatter, starlings and murmuration, conversation that moves away from its critical transitions, flit of a neuron, turning of a wheel, a wing turns a wing, turns a wing. Conversation becomes rooms, the universe becomes rooms, everything bumping against furniture in the dark. Only a glass of water is empty in the feeling of having been in this room and not in this room. A different room, one you recognize, but not this room. It takes a while to focus on the outskirts of this colander, our galaxy, stars and light bulbs, half burnt, bursts that accompany blue darkness, water that never cools, not on 1,000 black wings. This is also an older poem, but I relate to it almost every day, so thought I would read it again. So this is called Poem to My Car When I'm Not in It. All I can think of is how quiet it must be as I look out from the kitchen window. It must be nice for you to know that I've left without knowing I'll come back. I can tell from inside that the night rain falling under street lamps feels good to you. Like early December snow, everything feels good to you. Especially when I'm somewhere else doing God knows what, and you're in some parking lot feeling sun or wind, feeling good alone, not understanding loneliness. When I come back, sometimes I find spider webs across your windshield, paw prints across your hood. I used to feel close to my first car, but then again, I used to feel close to many things, and now only rarely. Some night I'll fall asleep in your back seat after staying up to watch the cat walk across the hood, the spider rise and drop across the windshield. And when I'm asleep, I'll hear something knocking and I'll whisper, "Who is it?" and reach for the door only to find the places your doors have been are no longer doors. "Who is it? Who's there?" I'll ask again, my eyes closed, my hands groping, but there were never any doors, never was any knocking. Better not to confuse something lost with something taken, says the spider suspended. Says the cat watching me now from a nearby tree. This is another older poem. It's called Alms. Was it the Buddha who said, "Remove the I and want from happiness and you will have it"? Somewhere there are monks crouched over mandalas pouring sand from the bottom of closed fists, each one an hourglass, a timepiece. I think of happiness, oysters on ice, and barrel-aged whiskey, decisions made for me. Like the Buddha himself, accepting alms, an invitation to eat pork. He walked a while that night, then died between two sala trees. There was nowhere else to go, no heart that would grieve the smallness of his body. The monks do not apologize to the sand when they stamp out the beauty they make of it. Then, like spinning tops, their lives just topple over. So this is the last one I'll read. And I try and make a habit of reading a poem that I've written in the same week of reading, so we'll see how this one goes. But it's called Theurgy, which came from Greek, I guess, for sorcery, and then later Latin, theos for God and ergos for working. So if you put two and two together, God and writing, then you get sorcery. So it's not that far off. So this actually came out of some strange thinking about William Butler Yeats. And for those of you that may not know, he was involved in some strange cult-like activities. So I guess it was called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And I was reading this really great article about it. He wrote, I think, A Vision. It took him 20 years to write that book. So definitely this undercurrent of his entire life. But there is a quote in the book, in the article, that for Yeats, magic was not so much a kind of poetry as poetry kind of magic. And the object of both was the evocation of energies and knowledge from beyond normal consciousness, which I tend to, I guess, identify with. I think it's a very interesting concept. So he also was in love with automatic writing, so I decided to sort of combine all of these things into one messy chaos, see what came out of it. And of course it ended up being an Ars Poetica. So, Theurgy. Let's imagine there was a place for song here. No place for where my mind goes, no place for lines, no place in the limelight short term, pointed, paralyzed, scanning disarrangement. Are there stranger things to come home to? I don't know why. It hasn't left me yet. Considering we have been engaged, so to speak, for years, so to speak, but no date set. And I have no memory of the first time they took to me and me to them. And why this peculiar arrangement? Everyone else passing notes in class, no lift-off. Nothing was enough for me. Bouncing my foot up and down beneath tables, eating lunch in classrooms, and you can't say it again, just once was enough. I don't think forward anymore. Words carved in the late night raindrop topography of Harlem. You have to welcome a memory in, no matter how muddy. They come so rarely in their true form, which is how I imagine St. Augustine or Pierre Desjardins writing at night by candlelight, lifting their heads at the sound of a door creak, wondering if that was time. The time had come for conversation, which is how I imagine William Butler Yeats, which is how I imagine Edgar Cayce, both men half horizontal and streaming cassette tape film. Wouldn't you like to record more of you? Wouldn't you like to know more of you? Wouldn't you like to ascertain the exact location of Bimini Road? Wouldn't you like to write those lines, slouching toward Bethlehem to be born? Isn't there always a time that you will get to later, wake up in the night from some dream vision, fantastic mind meld, with some distilled truth, some more important version of the words you say, the tone you say them, the audience that hears them, once, just once, get lost in the low-brush desert at night and listen to your heartbeat in such a way that you vow never to misunderstand yourself again, and try to find your way out then without trusting that underwater heartbeat, its blood pulse urgency, the way your voice never sounds the same in recordings. Tilt your head even at your own image someone else captured. It is normal to wonder if this is you, sat down here on a page, sifting through thought architecture. It would have been nice to have been beside Yeats just once, watching him nod off in a chair with a glass half spilled, watching him slip out the back, so to speak, to be with himself, and return himself in the morning to these demands, to this strange arrangement.